everybody. Thank you so much for being here with us today. My name is Andrea. I'm one of the co-founders of Embody Movement. Today we're going to be doing our webinar called Movement Through Grief. And let's get started. So quick reminder first, make sure you have some water. I'm drinking a big glass of water with ice and a little bit of iced tea in it for a little caffeine boost. And let's start with a vitality boost. So everybody up, we're gonna do just a couple minutes just to get that body moving, get us in the state so that we are all present and ready to go. Okay, here we go. Let's start. All right, you wanna clear your chair around you. There we go. All right, march it out. Start pumping those arms. Big inhale up. And down. Up. Down. One more. Up. Down. Last one. Hold at the top. Let's reach over to the left. started. So again, thank you so much for being here. If I haven't had the pleasure of meeting you yet, my name is Andrea Basilis. I am one of the co-founders of Embody, and along with Aaron, we started Embody. It's been almost 2 years, which has been just incredible. And so really our mission is to bring movement to everyone, and we just know firsthand how much movement has helped us in our lives and how much it's been a transformative experience for us. So today, actually first I'm going to get a quick sip of water, so let's do that together. Okay, so today our webinar is about moving through grief, which is definitely a different topic than what we have chatted about in the past. But one of the reasons why we wanted to do it is because I felt Aaron and I both feel that sharing our personal experiences and what we've been through in life is just so important, and it's what connects us. It's what bonds us together, because no matter where you are in the world, we all have similar stories, we all have similar struggles, and we all are trying to experience life together, right? And we're all just trying to do the best we can. So today I wanted to share my personal story about how movement really made a huge part in my life when I went through the most difficult season of my life. So I wanted to share that with you guys and then kind of give you some tips that helped me. Maybe they'll help you, maybe they won't. I know that grief is a very specific journey. Like, we all experience grief in this human life, but everyone experiences it differently. So just wanted to share what's worked with me, and then hopefully as this community, we can help lift each other up and help be that positive force in each other's lives. So first off, so my story really started back, I guess I could start at the beginning. In 2009 was when I moved to Arizona, and I'm originally from California, and pretty quickly after I moved here, I met my first husband, and we met in 2009. We were married in 2011. And then right after that, we had our son, and then a couple years after, we had our daughter. And as I was going through this journey of being married, running a business, being a mom, I noticed that, things didn't quite turn out how I thought they were going to. Just having those new mom and wife relationships were difficult in themselves. But one of the things that kind of started to happen was my first husband developed some drug and alcohol abuse issues, and those weren't totally apparent at first. I don't know if any of you have ever experienced living with or loving someone who has any substance abuse problems, but it is by far probably one of the hardest things, just because you feel so helpless. And I'm not going to make this talk about addiction or about anything like that, because I know there are specialists in that area. I'm definitely not one at all. But it's just something that I experienced and my family experienced. So flash forward a couple years, my first husband continued to struggle, and then he just kind of went into a downward spiral, and it was a very stressful experience to be living in, especially having young children in. So in 2019, it kind of got to the point where it was apparent he needed to go to rehab. It was apparent that things were not sustainable as they were. So myself and my 2 children were temporarily living with my mother and my stepdad, and I'm to this day, so thankful and lucky that I had their support. But the goal of that was for my husband to work on his sobriety, work on getting better, work on healing his addictions, and then we would all try to, resume life as normal. Unfortunately, that is not how the story went, and I'll never forget this day, but it was July 9th of 2019, I got a phone call that he was found, or his body, I guess, was found. He was on vacation in California, and he did not return home. And so people were trying to find him and look for him, and they found him. He had overdosed and had passed away. So that day, I never thought I would get a phone call like that. And I just remember all the feelings, like complete shock, absolutely stunned. It was like time completely stood still. I felt like I was in quicksand. I had no clue what to do. I felt my world just was completely fuzzy and hazy. I wasn't sure what time of day it was. I wasn't sure what day it was. It was just a complete shock to my whole entire body, my nervous system, my heart, my everything. It was just so out of the blue, unexpected, and really that's kind of what really started the big sense of grief and loss that I had felt. I had just turned 36. My birthday was a couple days before that. I had just turned 36. I had a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old, and then I had a new title of being a widow. And even to this day, that word just is so hard to even say. That was really a really hard thing for me to even embrace that, and not embrace it, but even like explain, because people would ask questions about what happened. And then, when you meet someone who's been widowed and they're younger, they kind of look at you weird. And anyway, it would still to this day, that word is tough for me to say. And I know I'm not alone in that. So basically the first, I would say, week, I was just in complete shock. I think I went 48 hours without eating, without sleeping, without, I think I showered, but you're just in such disarray, and time's moving, but you don't even really know what's happening. And I do still to this day feel so lucky. I had some amazing friends who found out what happened, and they brought me meals. And like I mentioned, I was living with my mom at the time, or she was really close by. So I'm so happy I have her. I know not everybody has that, but that was a huge blessing to have the support of my family. But after I kind of got through that first week and kind of, then you have to plan a funeral, you have to figure out all that stuff. That whole experience was in a whirlwind, and anybody you ever talk to that loses somebody, that those first few weeks when you have to make all the decisions are just horrible. You just don't even really know what's going on. But after all that kind of settled down, I remember sitting in my family room. My kids were at school, thinking like, what next? What am I going to do? Like, how am I going to be? I'm my kid's only parent now. How am I going to do this? How am I going to show up for them? And I had no clue how I was going to do that. Truthfully, I didn't. I wanted them to feel safe. I wanted them to feel secure. I wanted them to just feel loved. And I knew that in order for them to feel that way, I had to feel good too. I couldn't continue operate being a shell of a human being and still be a good mom to them. So I just remember just praying to God and just like really searching in my heart, like, what are some things I can do to make me feel like myself again? What are some things that I can try? What are some things that I can implement? And nothing hard. At that point, I was just taking it. I wasn't even taking it one day at a time. I was taking it probably 2 hours at a time, truthfully. It was just little chunks of time by little chunks of time. But, it was almost like I had an inkling, or I knew that I loved dance. And I knew that dance was something that always made me happy. And so I just remember thinking, okay, I'm going to take some classes at a gym, and I'm just going to start there, and hopefully that can bring some joy to my life. So that's what I did. The next week, there was a gym close by, and I went to one of their Zumba classes. I literally signed up for almost like every dance class I could find. So there was Zumba, there was like a dance fusion type of a thing, but these were just simple classes at my gym. They weren't anything fancy at all. I wasn't in the frame of mind to be able to like do some kind of intricate dance class. I just needed something simple, show up, there you go. And, luckily I found the most amazing woman. Her name is Julie. Shout out to Julie at Mountainside Fitness in Queen Creek, Arizona. She, I feel like, helped save my life. She was just a ball of positivity, and her class was the most fun thing I have ever done. One of the most fun things I've ever done. It was just an hour full of shaking your booty, shimmying to Pitbull songs, and it was a release for me that I didn't even know was going to be so powerful. So instantly, right after I took my first class, I knew I just felt lighter. I felt calmer. And sometimes when you're going through grief, you just feel so stressed out because you don't know what's going to happen next. You don't know what your next move's going to be. So even just after that first class, I remember feeling just, okay, today's going to be a good day. I can just be calm, I can breathe, and we're going to do it again tomorrow. So I started going to her classes. She taught a few times a week. So I started going to a couple of her classes a week. And over the next course of the few months, I just remember every time I would go, I would feel so much lighter, so much more joy, so much just not, peace isn't the right word, but it was just enough to get me through that day. And again, when you're in that season, you're just trying to go day by day. You don't try to think about how you're going to feel tomorrow. You don't try to think about what happened yesterday. You're just trying to help yourself get through that day. And then a couple months in, I really, really noticed like I would be crying during class. I would be having like an emotional experience. And it's almost like I would get my heart rate up so high with all of this dancing that it just was allowing me to just release emotions. And so there was a couple times on the way home I would be crying in my car. It just really helped me release emotions that I wasn't even aware I was really holding on to. So that was really the first experience I had that moving my body and dancing really helped me get through one of the hardest seasons of my entire life. And I know also that because of that, and then really feeling so grateful for dance in my life is kind of what has led to Embody happening. Of course, there's other steps along the way, but it was one of the things that kind of turned into, let's help people all over the world move because it's just so powerful. And again, everybody's journey is different. I don't know what your story is. I don't know if you've lost a loved one, if you know someone that's lost a loved one, or whatever your experience is. But I do know that, as a human existence, we all know how much better we feel when we're able to move our bodies. So, then I started wanting to know more about why does movement actually work? Is there science behind it? Why did I feel so much better? Even when I have a stressful day, why do I feel so much better if I do even a walk with my dog? Something simple. What is it about movement that just instantly I feel so much more alive and joyful? So one of my great friends is an occupational therapist, and she helped me find some information online that is proven scientific data. So I wanted to share that with you. So one of the things with trauma is it's referred to as the brain and body's normal response to an abnormal event. Grief is definitely considered an abnormal event. You don't expect it to happen, you don't know when it's going to happen, and you don't know how it's going to show up. So your body and your brain respond with muscle tension, pain, insomnia, difficulty concentrating, and your emotions react to these events with extreme fear, anger, anxiety, and disbelief. I can say for sure that those were just a few of the emotions that I went through, and I know that you can relate to that. And sometimes you're experiencing just one of those, and sometimes you're experiencing all of them simultaneously. And it's hard to kind of judge or gauge which one's going to come, and I don't want this one, let's be this. It just kind of comes at you, sometimes in waves and sometimes like a tsunami. So that's just kind of what happens to your body when you're going through grief. Your body and your mind attempt to move forward in life when your general senses remain stuck with the trauma memory, creating imbalances. So when you have something traumatic happen to you, you kind of keep replaying it over and over in your mind. You replay either that phone call, or you replay that last time you saw them, or you just get stuck on this loop of that last memory you have, or trying to replay or trying to recreate something in your mind. And then that just makes you feel totally stuck because you're just living in that memory. So when you do move your body and when you do exercise, it stimulates the growth and the diameter of your blood vessels in all parts of your body, especially in your brain. And that's the most important part because it helps sprout new blood vessels with oxygen, and it also helps your brain regenerate. So when you have all of these negative emotions and all of these negative feelings, it's almost, you can imagine like your brain shrinking. It doesn't actually shrink, but you can imagine that sense. Whereas when you get blood and oxygen flowing to your body and your brain, it helps it kind of expand. And then with that, it helps your cognitive functions. So that is all of your functions that help you feel alert, help you feel awake, help you feel kind of just able to tackle your day or to complete your day. Exercise also works with your nervous system and restores balance, and it helps burn off adrenaline and release all of the feel-good chemicals. So all of the chemicals of like feeling in love, all those endorphins, all of those chemicals you feel out when you look at your child, or you experience those types of what they call the love chemicals. Exercise helps stimulate that in your brain as well. So that is really one of the best ways to combat fear, anxiety, depression, feeling overwhelmed. That's one of it's nature's Prozac, really. Exercise also leads to an increase in your neurotransmitters, which is huge because it helps kind of like your brain regenerate, like I was saying. And so there was a study done by Harvard, and what they found that people that were depressed, neuroscientists have noticed that the hippocampus in the brain, the region that helps regulate mood, is smaller, like I was mentioning. So exercise supports nerve cell growth in the hippocampus, improving nerve cell connections, which help relieve depression. So I'm not going to say that if you exercise and you have something that you need to be treated for medically, that, there, of course, there's instances where people need help from a medical doctor, and that's totally fine. Sometimes there's situational depression surrounding grief. Sometimes, it's just overwhelming and you just need help, and that's totally fine. I can say that there was a time when I did need some help with that, but exercise has been the biggest, and moving my body has been the biggest, most consistent way that I have kind of kept myself feeling calm, feeling positive, feeling hope for the future, and feeling like, okay, we're going to be fine. We're going to get through this. And it's scientifically proven, which is awesome as well. So one of the things I also really wanted to chat with you were some of the lessons that I got that grief taught me. Of course, it's still a journey that I am on. It never really ends. It's not like, some years go by and you're not grieving anymore. That's not how life works. I'm always going to grieve. I'm always going to feel sadness for my husband passing away. I'm always going to feel sadness that my children don't have their biological father. I'm always going to feel, I wish this would have turned out this way, or I wish things could have been different. But, that's not the stage of life that I'm at right now. So I'm really trying to focus on what are the lessons that I learned now that I'm about 4.5 years removed from that situation. So these are some things that I wanted to share with you all. Of course, one of the biggest things I did at first was trying to figure out why. Why did this happen? How could I have prevented it? What was it about my first husband that caused this? What were, all of the whys. We have so many whys when things happen. So when I stopped trying to figure out all of the whys, or at least focusing so much on the whys, was when I started noticing the lessons that were happening around me. So really one of the things that it taught me so much to just cherish in the moment. When I was living through my life before he passed away, like I mentioned, living with someone with addiction issues, it was so chaotic every day. I was not living in the present whatsoever. I was worried about the future. I was anticipating something bad to happen. I was constantly worrying about all these different things. So once I was able to really, it made me live in the moment. It made me focus exactly like, what are my kids doing right now? Are they happy? Are they healthy? Are they enjoying life, and just getting more time to spend with them and just really focus on them and pour into them? That was something that was really eye-opening to me, and I don't really know that would have hit me in the face as much as it would have maybe if I didn't go through this experience. It also helped me just have a lot of grace for people. Every single person in this world is going through something. It might be something big, it might be something small, but we're all experiencing different things. And just because you have a season where things are going great right now, it doesn't mean that something won't show up later, and vice versa. There's no storm that lasts forever. There's always a rainbow after the storm. And I hate that. I feel like that's cliche, but nothing lasts forever. Overwhelming grief or overwhelming joy, it's all seasons, right? There's always ebbs and flows of everything. So that was really a huge life lesson to me. So it's really helped me kind of ground myself, and it's helped me just kind of appreciate the season that I'm in and not stress on what's coming next. It also taught me the importance of living an authentic life. So what I mean by that is when I was going through the season of living with an addict and trying to make that relationship work, I was very much like, everything's fine, nothing to worry about. You don't want to show that part of you. You don't want to show that side of you. You don't want anybody to know what's really going on behind closed doors. And now I'm the complete opposite. Obviously, I wanted to do this webinar to share with you what I've been through, but I'm a complete open book. I will tell you anything you want to know, maybe to the point that it's too much, but it's just been so amazing to be able, when we're able to be authentic with each other, just the connections that it brings, and just how it brings people together is incredible. So that really showed up a lot for me. Like, oh, okay, if I'm able to be authentic and show people what I'm really feeling, other people are feeling the same thing. Like it was kind of an aha moment to me. I also really learned to be so grateful for my family and my friends. Like I mentioned earlier, my family was so supportive throughout everything, and I know not everybody has that, and I recognize not everybody has that, and so I feel so blessed, and I thank God every day for my family. My mom, my sister, my grandma, and then even just like extended family members and friends. Everyone was just kind of surrounded us and supported us so much that I know that was a huge reason why we got through what we had to get through, especially for my kids. Like they helped with them so much, and I will forever be grateful for that. So just always making sure that you tell the people in your life that you love, that you appreciate them, that you're grateful for them, even if it's something small. Now I call my mom like 4 or 5 times a week. It's kind of silly. And my grandma too. My grandma's almost 90, so I'm like, I have to talk to her as much as I can, So it's just really put things into perspective for me. I just really want to tell everybody that I love, how much I love them as much as I can. And then lastly, one of the biggest things that this journey of grief taught me was not sweating the small stuff. And again, that's something that's so cliche. There's been books written about that and all of that kind of stuff. But it's so true. When you've gone through something really major, you don't care if you're late to the soccer game. You don't care if you signed up to bring brownies to the kids' school thing and you accidentally brought cupcakes. You're just like, okay, whatever. And those things used to rattle me. Those things used to really stress me out. There was one time I had the wrong shoe. Like we had to go to a football game and I showed up, we had the wrong cleats and I was so stressed out. But now it's like, whatever, it's fine. It'll be fine. And I did not have that mentality before. And I'm living such a more peaceful life with having that mentality, because if I found before, if you're worrying about every single little detail and every single thing, then it's just going to magnify your stress and your anxiety. And living with extreme stress and anxiety, 1, is not sustainable, and 2, you're miserable. It's not fun. And I'm so glad I've reached the other end of that, because I never want to go back to living that way. It was so hard, so hard. So that's really some of the stuff that this lesson of grief taught me. And again, it's a journey. It's not something that I feel like really has an end date. Sometimes different things show up. For example, my son just turned 10, and I was really sad and missing his dad that day, because like to me 10 was a milestone. It's like a milestone birthday. So, and then like when my daughter, she got an award in school, and I was just like, oh, her dad would be so proud, so there's always moments like that. But the sad part kind of gets better, and feeling sadness. I would say now it's feelings of joy and happiness in remembering his memory and remembering like the good parts and not having to remember the bad parts. And I think that that's a good thing to focus on. That's something I try to focus on with my kids. It's like, let's remember the good things about Daddy. Let's talk about the positive stuff. I know in the future I'm going to have those conversations about substance abuse and how to live responsibly with those types of stuff with them, and I'm definitely planning on being open and honest with them. But luckily they're 10 and 8, and so they know some things, but to age appropriate levels. But it's just a journey, right? Life is just a complete journey, and it's something that we're going to have to constantly talk about as they grow up. I know graduation's going to be emotional, weddings are going to be emotional, all of that kind of stuff. But we'll just deal with it as it comes. And luckily, its story doesn't have a completely sad ending. A few years ago, I met a wonderful man, and so I'm remarried, and have 3 awesome stepkids, and so now we're a blended family of 5. And that's a whole nother webinar probably, having a blended family. But it's just so, it's amazing to see how, God universe works. It's amazing to see how something that was so challenging has turned out. It's not perfect by any means, but just the relationship I have with my current husband. That's another thing I struggle with. First husband, current husband. I feel like I have to explain it, but whatever, it's fine. But the relationship I have now with my husband and our family, we're just so strong, and we're building such a strong foundation. The step kids and my kids, they get along so well. They're pretty much all the same ages. So I currently have a second grader, 2 are in 4th grade, 5th grade, and 7th grade. So they all play together. They're like best friends. And my kids love having them as siblings. They just think it's amazing, and it's really helped them, giving them more of a sense of family and giving them more of a sense of community at home. And that's just been really cool too, to see them kind of grow up together and to see them support each other. So the last thing I wanted to do with you was just to take some time to reflect. For you, I was going to play some music, and I just want you to think about maybe the biggest life lesson you've learned from something that you've gone through that was challenging. And sometimes writing it down on paper is really powerful. Sometimes just allowing yourself to not necessarily be grateful that something horrible happened to you, but just to acknowledge that there's lessons in every season of life. And so I'm going to play a little, some music, and we're just going to take a few moments. Just jot down anything that comes to mind as a journal entry, something that, you went through that was one of your most challenging things, but you learned a lesson that you still carry with you today. So I'm going to put some music on, and okay, here we go. About 2 more minutes. Make sure you take a drink of water too. Hey, everyone. Last thing I wanted to ask is if you guys have any questions or if you want to chat with me privately, feel free to email us or message me on any of our social platforms. You can message me in the Power Cohorts. I'd love to continue this conversation. Again, I'm by no means any kind of therapist, expert, psychologist, any of those types of things. Just wanted to share my story, and of course, I could go so much deeper into it, but just wanted to kind of give you the outline. So please feel free to reach out to us. Any questions you have, any comments you have. Also, if you have any ideas for any upcoming topics that you would love for us to chat about. We've done morning routines. Erin's going to do one about relationships. And so we really just want to open the conversation to whatever is on your guys' heart and whatever you feel like you would love to hear more about. We would love to hear your thoughts and your input. So please let us know. So in closing, let's just do a couple moves together, shake our bodies out, and then we will be all finished. Let's see, those put 3 minutes on the music. There we go. All right, here we go. Thank you so much for being here with us. I hope you have a fabulous weekend, and we look forward to connecting more. Have a beautiful day. Mwah!